That was one. The second one was a little bit more concerning because this one was called the Culturally Responsive School Leadership Institute. I've never heard of this before.
Neither have I.
And I don't like the sound of it.
The new Minneapolis teacher contract also provides mentorship support and creates an anti-racist, anti-bias council. At a news conference, union leaders said the contract didn't go far enough, but highlighted some victories.
We have historic wins around supporting and retaining educators of color.
In Minnesota, 5.6% of licensed teachers identify as a teacher of color or Native.
A whopping 5.6%.
Well, you can only teach them so much.
Okay, so this is a statistic we don't think about is what is the demographics of the school. We talk about what are the demographics of the city because that contributes, but this is kind of like it's a pretty good indication of future demographics. What is Minneapolis? What is the black population? 16%,
something like that. Yeah, it's not much higher than that.
17, 30%. If your kid goes to a school there, that's damn near double. If this is like the age-old 13% of the population, 16% of the population, whatever, is committing 58, 59% of the murders. In Minneapolis, we're looking at 19% or whatever it is, 17%. And now we're seeing 30% students of colors. This could be a very, very interesting changing of the tides.
Well,
One of the
go ahead.
most diverse districts in the state. And like others, its educator workforce falls short of reflecting that.
So the research literature is very clear that teachers of color have a positive impact not only on students of color, but also on white students. So there's this idea of if you can see it, you can be it.
Dr. Katie Pickell at the University of Minnesota says many districts use some form of last in, first out, a seniority-based system to determine who's laid off during budget cuts. District data in Minneapolis shows there are fewer teachers of color that are tenured, meaning they could be more impacted by this.
70% of the teaching force looks like me. They're middle-class white women. And so these efforts to diversify the educator workforce to have them more closely.
Yeah, they don't look like you. They don't
look like you.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't pat them up.
Okay, so here's the new rule we're going to put in place and see what happens.
70% of the teachers have to look like her, and that is the new median.
That's it. And they have to live. They have to live in Minneapolis.
Well, we don't have to do that.
If they're a professor at the University of Minnesota, they have to live in Minneapolis.
Oh, there will be an IQ drop like no one.
Yeah, because I'll guarantee you. Well, she might
St. Paul or the suburbs.
She lives in Edina. Or Bloomington. Come on.
This view is not in the city.
Yes. In our classrooms are why we're seeing policy changes and contract changes.
In Minneapolis, the contract doesn't do away with seniority, but they add a.
Also, hold up. There's a doctor in her name, so I'm going to assume more that she's not in the city.
These efforts to diversify the educator workforce to have them more closely mirror what our students in our classrooms look like are why we're seeing policy changes and contract changes.
In Minneapolis, the contract doesn't do away with seniority, but they add a carve out to the contract to protect teachers of color.
Pause. Okay, hold on. We're going to get back to this because now I'm in a rabbit hole. Who the fuck is this bitch saying that everybody looks like her?
They all got to look like me, a white middle-class woman.
Pickell, named Executive Director of Education Leadership. Here we go. Dr. Katie Pickell, official title has been updated to Executive Director of Educational Leadership. This overdue change reflective of multiple ways in which her responsibilities have broadened since joining CEHD in 2015 as the university's principal in residence. Okay, let's see what else. That was one. The second one was a little bit more concerning because this one was called the Culturally Responsive School Leadership Institute. I've never heard of this before.
Neither have I.
And I don't like the sound of it.
CRSL.
So I think this is the same thing, saying to practice in PK-12. Pickell has also worked with the university's College Readiness Consortium, guiding school principals and leadership teams from over 150 schools across Minnesota on the implementation of Ramp Up to Readiness, college-wide readiness program. Okay, so she has reach. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Austin. Yeah, she was principal in Austin, Minnesota.
Yeah, middle school principal for 6 years in Austin Middle School.
There you go.
Here's the team. Fucking ooga booga ass team that you work for. Muhammad Khalifa, and the fucking electric company over here. It's like the roof.
I'm only gonna hire black people. That's it. Look how diverse I am.
What the hell is this? Our purpose. The culturally responsive School Leadership Institute is an organization committed to helping educational leaders at all levels to humanize students and community. So some unity project. Accepting indigenous local identities, developing teacher capacities for cultural responsive pedagogy.
Someone knows how to write grants.
That's what this is, isn't
That's
it?
what this is. This is
There are
us
a lot
writing.
of pictures.
These are people that know how to write grants, and they get money for it, and then they got together and got all the grants together. And
what are equity audit? What is equity audit? Can pinpoint and address sources your school's achievement board and justify money.
That's all it is. It's justifying getting their grant every year.
Pretty purposefully.
Man, she is 2/3 of the
so I'll give an
videos here.
example. We'll have,
No,
in one
she's
district, there's a
75% of the
superintendent.
fucking videos here. So she's a somebody. She's like a player in this shit.
She's the best grant writer.
Okay. Well,
she knows how to get her hands in politicians' pockets.
She knows how to rub up to nonprofits.
Correct.
So we figured something out today. We'll have to put a bookmark in her and come back.
Fact of the matter is that that's just one person in this country.
She's out there.
They're all over the place.
She's out there jerking black cock for nonprofits.
She's a Kamala Harris.
Pretty much.
The new language says, quote, "Past discrimination by the district disproportionately impacted the hiring of underrepresented teachers in the district, and that resulted in a lack of diversity of teachers. It allows the district to protect underrepresented populations from
Long story short, if you're a white teacher, target on your back, you're no longer protected.
layoffs, regardless of seniority.
Even if you're smarter, even if you're a better
already
teacher.
for teachers trained in immersion, Montessori, and certain literacy programs. The new Minneapolis teacher contract also provides mentorship support and creates an anti-racist, anti-bias council.
I'm proud of the great.
An anti-racist council. I'm reading this thing and it said something. She leads. Okay, hold on. Remember when I said Muhammad Wabada is like the runner of this shit? Okay, so once we stopped right here. Literally, the next sentence was, she leads the Minnesota Principals Academy, co-directs the Urban Leadership Academy, developed the university's District Leadership Academy with Dr. Kim Gibbons. We'll get back to that, and Culturally Responsive School Leadership Academy with colleague Dr. Muhammad Khalifa. So she started this shit. She's co-director of this shit. Okay.
She's got to be a fun person to have around the house at night.
Her and her cats and wine.
Leadership of the union and
that was either an office or an apartment.
District to negotiate a contract that recognizes the need and the importance of having and retaining teachers of color.
Former Minneapolis Superintendent Bernadette Johnson praised the move by her former district to recruit and retain teachers of color, but she acknowledges that these changes alone aren't the only solution to getting more diverse educators in the classroom.
Well, there's no one silver bullet. So this is not the only strategy, but it's one of the ones that could be deployed. So why not do it?
In Minneapolis, Caroline Cummings, WCCO.
In other words, we're not hiring the best people for the job anymore.
No, you just have to be the right color.
You got to check the right boxes.
Yeah.
That's the downfall of the country.
Yeah.
If you're not going to put your best people in charge of teaching, then who's teaching your kids? People that aren't the best.
Well, IQ research is racist, don't you know? You should never read the bell curve.
Yeah. But then again, if you
you should be aware of the bell curve, but you should never read the bell curve. The bell curve is a dangerous book.
I'll bet you all
God
those
forbid
white
you buy the
teachers,
bell curve.
all the white teachers that didn't get hired by the public school system are now working in private school systems around the
Yes.
country where they get better education.
Yes.
Yes,
So-
and that's what's happening.
Before we get there, the next thing that I see here is something
Yes.
called the Violence Project. Have you ever heard of it?
Mass shooting research nonprofit. Is that where they changed the what's considered to be a mass shooting from like 6 to 3?
I wonder.
I wonder.
Hey, look, let's see who's on the team. Okay, we found the co-founder and president, another co-founder and president. Hey, look, fucking first page.
The
on
director. Oh, she's the secretary.
There you go. That's how she fucking got on the column. And look, we see the same names. I guess this
Gibbons,
is
Muhammad Khalifa. They're all a little group.
What is this cult? The most comprehensive mass shooter database. How to stop. So this is selling a book. God damn. Some key findings. 80% of mass shooters were in a noticeable crisis before the shooting. Okay.
What's that? Look at that graph. Nobody could read that thing if they wanted to.
This is.
Well, we're throwing some more people in here now, though.
And we'll find a way to figure out how the hell does this team tie in a gun control and shit like that.
Oh, yeah, I'll guarantee that's there.
This is weird. Anyway, she has opinions. This we have figured out. I mean, I guess if you talk about gun or mass shootings, you have mental health in there. And it looks like she covered that topic too. We missed this. Is she new? Did she just show up? I haven't seen her before. Do you remember this person?
I've never heard her name.
Okay. As a matter of fact, the school principals are middle managers. There's a superintendent, and they oversee teachers as well. They do have to be good at management and decision making. Okay, so she's like the king of the principals or something like that.
They're the reasons that school districts don't have enough money because they paid these people too much money to do their job.
What the smooth talking black dude is to Jacob Fry,
Correct.
he is to the Minneapolis school district.
Correct.
Hey, dude, we're actually figuring shit out today.
She gets paid a crap load of money to say all the right words and say all the right things and never do anything.
Huh. Well, she gets
start a new project, start a new program.
Make a bulb go on TV.
That's what they need is more programs. They don't need,
spend all your money on black. Here we go.
Sticking to the learning category, it's no secret that educators, along with so many others, have faced some monumental challenges over the last 2 years. Teaching was never an easy gig, not even before COVID-19. But
dude, it's literally what you learned in elementary school.
At school board
okay,
meetings,
if you didn't want to be a teacher, why did you grow up and be a teacher?
the list goes on and on.
And of course, we've seen the horrific school board meeting videos where school board members and superintendents are just berated, stuck between a rock and a hard place. And we know
God forbid you yell at your fucking school board and student council as they're pushing as they're weird groomers in schools and CRTs being thrown everywhere. And fucking
teachers have had such a difficult time during this pandemic, but in the middle of this education ecosystem is another group of educators, principals, who spoke up via a survey run by the University of Minnesota.
The fact of the matter is school principals are middle managers.
There's a superintendent, and then they oversee teachers as well. So they do have to be good at things like management and decision making.
Dr. Katie Piquel, the principal and president at the University of Minnesota, says in a survey, first of its kind, of 779 principals around our state, it became abundantly clear principals also craved similar things teachers did. Less admin work and more hands-on work.
The things that might be a little bit more concerning are things like they're not getting to spend enough time on the areas that they think are important, like instructional leadership, and also that they're not getting the types of professional development that they feel that they might really be needing.
In fact, principals said they are working on average 58.6 hours a week.
What are they doing?
Percent of the respondents said the workload is not sustainable. On top of that, almost 70% of them said they had mental health concerns for their students and staff, and nearly 30% did say community pushback on COVID mitigation measures was also on top of their stressors list. That being said, the survey wasn't all grim either.
We
Holy
found
fucking
that
shit.
90% of principals feel that they can be successful in the buildings that they're in, so that's good news. 80% of principals told us that their primary job is to be
People's career
Hurry up.
completely.
they were either going into retirement, which is to be expected, or they were going to be taking another principal job, or they were looking to take a job, for example, at a district level. Only 5% of the respondents told us they were going to be looking for a job outside of education.
A principal is rarely not an educator prior to their position, and the stresses, although different,
Okay,
are
hurry up.
From the needs for supports for lots of other folks. Principals rated the needs, they want resources for their staff at about 73%. But principals also need to be recognized in this time period.
She's one of those people who are typing a lot and then like
Yeah.
just and funding these research programs. So this is some think tank shit, huh?
Well, you know, I don't know. It's all changed, obviously. I mean, once you get into the superintendent business, you know, they got their own club, so to speak, because, you know, superintendents get fired for whatever reason, and the next thing they do, they end up in a job where they're making more money as a superintendent. They just rotate from one superintendent to another superintendent's place to another superintendent's place.
It's like the Catholic Church with priests.
Correct.
So this quote here basically summed it up. The research and literature is very clear, meaning all the studies that this person gets funding for and puts out. Teachers of color have a positive impact not only on students of color but also white people, but also white students. 30% of your students are black kids. You know, the when you go outside and you see them, you couldn't really tell that they're students. But 70%, want to talk about management for a second, 70% of them aren't. You know, a majority, a good majority, still miraculously. And we have this fucking whites have a fascination of just Black Lives Matter shows up. So this is the thing that we should support. Oh, and they want to have their own unity groups, and that's perfectly fine. But God forbid someone in Eastern Europe or someone in Russia or someone in Europe or someone, God forbid, hell no, absolutely not in America. If you want to have, you know, the same fucking collectivized ideology, then everybody comes out of the woodwork and you're racist and you're bad and you're evil. But the thing is these are the same kind of people, and this is also like Minneapolis specifically is one of, if you divorce your mind from ever being there or how close you might be to there, it is honestly, over the past 30 years, is one of the most fascinating case studies of how did this city have such a multi-generational corruption mindset virus issue. Like how did you get this city to be this bad, to be like Portland levels crazy for the people who are in their teenage years, for the people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? Like, what gnarly hippie movement happened? And to the point I was getting at is you have these people who they have their bills paid. You have, you know, single mothers owning a small house somewhere, or single women owning a small house somewhere, going to work and always voting for the DFL. And you always have to be out there helping Black people and all the other communities and the Native Americans doing heroin under the bridge on Lake Street. The reason that you're able to scream racism and all this shit is because life's fucking good for you right now, because you live in a civilization that Europeans built and perfected. And you know what happens when that goes from the infestation of 15%, 13%, 16%, whatever the fuck it is in the city, to 30%? It's no longer the civilization that Europeans built, and especially if the ones maintaining it aren't the same people, which city council sure as fuck isn't. It's like over half Black or something like that. How do you think it's going to turn into? Southern California and the Southwest has full of Mexicans. You know what that's going to turn into? Mexico.
Correct.
You fill it up with Africans who aren't Americanized, it's going to turn into fucking Africa. What has Minneapolis turned into over the past couple years? Murders, shit on the streets, drug use everywhere, homelessness. Looks like Africa.
Looks like little Chicago.
Looks like little Detroit.